Tell us. I am excited to hear about what you're going to share. Obviously, I know a little bit about what it is, but uh, have
Yeah,
at it. That's good.
yeah. I mean, so I think last episode when we did our end of show QSO, you sort of showed some of the tools that you use, and you've got a Windows setup. I run Linux, and I just seeing all like finding out where should you tune your radio to in order to find some activity, right? I mean, you can look at if you've got a waterfall, you can look at that and see where there's activity. But like you were showing, it's really nice to have some of the spots on that. And so what I've got here is this is a Linux waterfall tool called SDR++. And I'm a software developer by training, and so I wrote a plugin that can pull in spots and visualize them on the waterfall, very much like what you were showing before. And what I've done is I've actually pulled in spots not just from the Cluster DX network, but these are spots from POTA, the POTA.app website. And so these are people that are at a park on the air. They've activated the park, and now they're looking for contacts. And so we can see, here's a guy in Minnesota at Gateway Overview State Trail, right? And we're tuned into him. But if we want to, jump over to someone else, we could see this person here. Like I'm seeing on the waterfall that there's some activity here, right? And that would be a really interesting place to hop into. So I basically just cribbed off of what you were showing from. I think you use SDR console. Is that right?
Yes, and also, let's just say, SDR console. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like a very similar functionality. And I think you also mentioned that WFView has it. I mean, that's one of the great things about this is that there's just such a great ecosystem of software. This SDR++ didn't have that functionality, so I wrote a plugin that lets me do that.
Now that is a ham radio takeaway.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So I'll in the show notes I'll include links to where I've got my plugin so that other folks can set it up if they're running SDR++ and they want sort of the similar functionality. I think it's really neat to be able to do this if you're into POTA hunting, which is something that Greg, our treasurer, what's Greg's call again?
W7GFW.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. He was sort
Golf
of talking
was
about POTA. He's really big into POTA hunting and activation, and he was getting me into it too. So it's just a really neat tool to be able to jump straight to where you're seeing the activity, and like maybe this person here, Whiskey 7 India Mike Charlie at in Idaho, so there's a fish hatchery, so that'd be an interesting to try and get that contact. In fact, just before we went on the air, I was using this to do some POTA hunting. So
oh yeah, that's fantastic. So I just want to call out a couple things here. So the actual spectrum scope is showing the noise floor, and those spikes are actual, most of them anyway. Some of them are just noise spikes, but most of them are actual transmitted signals of operators.
totally.
And you can see from the scale to the left that there's some indication of signal strength, and whatever, maybe that's the signal noise ratio or something. But in any event, the higher the spike, the stronger the signal. So that, and then the waterfall is another visual indication of where to
Exactly. Yeah.
get your VFO tuned in.
And I guess that sig that dot that we see across the screen there must be an ionosonde, right? One of these research radars or something like that. I don't know. That's what someone told me, anyways.
Could be. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's that, it could also be some other manner of communication over the horizon. So. But yeah, so let's see. So the other thing I just wanted, so Are you imagining that maybe down the road you might do another plugin for sodas
Yeah, I mean
for, for
yeah,
summits on the
if
air?
there's other sources of spots, it's the way that this is sort of built is it can just accept spots. I mean, I sort of need to build the connector to these other sites, but I've got one
Mhm.
for poda.app and I've got one for hamqth, which is just they just are reserving the cluster DX network of spots.
Okay.
But totally, yeah. I mean, I could do this for soda, or if there's other kinds of spots that other sources of spots. I think it'd be really
Yeah.
interesting to build one for de-expeditions. If I could find a source that had the frequencies that some of these de-expeditions are on, to if they're publishing which frequencies they're going to be on, I think that'd be a
Hmm.
lot of fun just
Yeah.
to
They
be
don't
able to say,
typically. Yeah, they don't often do that just because the context of where they're operating is a little bit more uncertain.
yeah, for sure,
Um,
for sure.
but I was thinking, so in addition to Soda, which has an international website and some other sort of derivative websites, but there's also WWFF, the Worldwide Flora Fauna, which I'm actually very excited about because it's sort of in distinction of PODA, where you could activate a marsh.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can activate a wetland. I just think that would be that's that's getting more and more popular,
Very
and that'd be
cool.
fun to do. So,
Yeah.
anyway, well, good going, Nick. This is really exciting, and boy, talk about an important contribution.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
nice
and
going
so
on that.
I used this app during the international DX contest. I mean, this was how I found those contacts. And it's definitely a tool, and I've certainly had contacts with some hams that are they would sort of poo-poo this a little bit, but you're starting out, it's really hard. I certainly am still facing the learning curve of how to find a station, how to get their call, being able to break in. Like
Mhm.
it's intimidating. So having all these tools so I already know what call to be looking for, so, and then I can listen and I'm like, oh yeah, Whiskey 7 India Mike Charlie, right.
Right.
It helps a lot to do that and to
Yes.
sort of train your ear. And yeah, like I said, it's pretty intimidating, pretty steep learning curve without tools.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Back in the day, um, a lot of this computer software wasn't available, and uh, as you say, training your ear was not just critical; it was necessary. So, to the extent that this helps you develop that skill set more readily, and gets you there, I say use all the tools in the toolbox if you can. So.
Yeah.